Welcome back to the Patreon board. So this year, I'll be waiting to do the bonus objective later this month before going back to requests next month. For now though, we'll start with Arthur's request. Of the things he's offered me, I decided on a series that I actually do like, and have plenty to say. It's My Hero Academia. This series was created by Kohei Horikoshi in 2014 in Weekly Shonen Jump. He also created Omagadoki Zoo in 2011 and Barrage in 2012, with MHA being his most popular work to date. And for many reasons that will be given the more I review this series, yes, I do consider this to have animal themes that will play a major part in the story. Now, obviously from the title alone, this is a superhero-themed series, one that pays homage to American comics, Marvel in particular, in terms of theming and overall style, something that Studio Bones understands very well, as they produced the anime starting in 2016, with the current length being at least 374 chapters at the time of this recording. The anime took a seasonal approach to allow the manga to get ahead before they would adapt any further. This will be important later, but it otherwise makes a good way for me to cover this, since I can do it season by season, either by request or if I have time. At the very least, allow me to ease you into this large series by tackling Season 1 of My Hero Academia. It begins with our young main character, Izuku Midoriya, protecting this one kid from some bullies with strange powers.
You don't stand a chance without a quirk, Deku.
Here's the sad truth. All men are not created equal.
Well, in this universe, that does resonate quite loudly, but as he grows older and sounds like Justin Briner, he talks about how that won't stop him from accomplishing his dream of becoming a hero, and we get a rad opening song called That Day. Most of the MHA openings have a lot of energy to them, and are visually pleasing during the action parts. They go well in hand with the superhero aesthetic, which, speaking of...
It was an age of heroes.
It's probably once!
Imagine if the world of The Incredibles were more expansive than it already was. That's pretty much this world in general. It started long ago when a baby was born glowing brightly. This kicked off a wave of superhuman abilities manifesting in people all over the world. They would later be known as quirks, and while society would go through many changes, which we'll see much of later, this is the kind of society it became today. Heroes that are sanctioned by their governments do battle against any villains that disrupt society. This brings a lot of admiration from the public, who enjoy seeing their favorite heroes protect them.
And you don't have to worry about this thumb anymore.
And even with some dangerous villains running around, many consider this an era of peace thanks to one particular hero. Izuku dreams of attending UA High School, where students can learn to become heroes, even though out of everyone in his class, he's the only one without a quirk. This especially puts him at odds with his childhood playmate, Katsuki Bakugo, voiced in English by Clifford Chapin, who is...
I ace all the mock tests. I'm the only one at this school who stands a chance at getting in. I'll end up more popular than All Might himself, and be the richest hero of all time! People all across the world will know who I am, and it all starts with UA High!
Yeah, he's quite a handful for many reasons. How do I best describe him? Well, imagine Gyakio from JoJo Part 5, who he shares a voice actor with in Japanese, but less evil. Even though with how he is, it's fair to believe he would become a villain at some point. Like seriously, Bakugo is the kind of edgelord who thinks he's all high and mighty that would become one. He's practically a bully right now, calling Izuku Deku, which is derogatory to him, taking his hero notebook and combusting it, and of course...
Pray that you'll be born with a quirk in your next life, and take a swan dive off the roof of the building. something wrong.
It's easy to understand why people would hate his guts, even if you're like me and know what sort of character he becomes. Unless you can catch the subtle behavior that shows he's not everything he makes himself out to be, he would run your patience out before you got to his better moments. Because believe me, he's not the most hateful character in this series. In any case, Izuku tries to cheer himself up, especially after he remembers his childhood. He was a huge fan of the #1 Japanese hero, All Might, who, based on his debut video, was a mighty hero who saved a bunch of people from a collapsed building, all while smiling his big grin.
Fear not, citizens! Hope has arrived! Because I am here!
It's invigorating to have a hero maintain this level of confidence while knowing that things will be alright, because he can make it happen. It's the kind of hero Izuku wants to be when he grows up. But...
Sorry, kid, it's not gonna happen. Doctors discovered a link between the bones in a person's foot and their likelihood of developing a quirk. You can see here that Izuku has 2 joints in his pinky, like roughly 20% of the population these days. Based on the research that's available, it's safe to say your son isn't going to develop a quirk.
yeah, sucks to hear that, and in a society that is dominated by and catered to people with quirks while he's in the minority. It gets worse when he still wants to be a hero, but unfortunately...
Sorry, Izuku. I wish things were different.
Mom, that's not what I needed you to say. Couldn't you see? My world was crumbling. There was only one thing I wanted to hear.
This is going to get a lot heavier in the next episode. Anyway, not long after, he gets attacked by a sludge-based villain who plans to hijack his body to get away from heroes, even if it means killing the kid. As Izuku passes out, though, he gets rescued by his idol.
Texas! Smash! Hey! Wake up! Sorry about that back there. I didn't mean to get you caught up in my justicing. Usually I pay more attention to keeping bystanders safe, but it turns out this city sewer system is pretty difficult to navigate.
Now, while his Japanese voice actor is really good, I think Christopher Sabat does just as good for the role he's in. He bottles up the villain, signs Izuku's notebook, who of course goes all fanboy over this, before planning to leave. But Izuku forces himself onto him because he really wants to ask him the question.
Shit.
Oh, what's this? After landing, he tries to pop the question he asked his mother, as he really doesn't want to give up his dream, but as the smoke clears, he ends up seeing a skinny guy? Where did All Might go?
I assure you that I am all...
What? Okay, so All Might, whose real name is Toshinori Yagi, by the way, got this way because of a villain who damaged most of his organs. So now he can only maintain his buff form for only 3 hours per day. Only a few people he trusts know this, and even so, he still goes out of his way to protect people because they need the symbol of peace to keep the peace and whatnot, even if it kills him. As for Izuku's question...
Some villains just can't be beaten without powers. So can you be a hero? Not without a quirk. If you want to help people, there are plenty other ways to do it. You could become a police officer. They get crap because the heroes capture most of the villains.
Yeah, no. Thankfully, most of the police in this world aren't like the ones in real life, but still, that shouldn't be the answer. Poor Izuku. Even his hero tells him the reality of the situation, that without a quirk, he can't survive against greater evil. While this was happening, the villain from before finds himself near Bakugo and friends, who are talking about Izuku needing to give up his dream before accidentally freeing the villain from his bottle, leading to, of course, a hostage situation. While at least one of the heroes from the start is there, he isn't able to damage the villain at all. Other heroes are either busy with other rescues, or are just stuck, and All Might can't draw on his power anymore, so he's really stuck. Izuku, still in his slump, arrives and realizes he allowed the villain to be dropped. As he and All Might share similar remorse over the situation, things take a sudden turn.
What am I doing? Why am I running?
Yep, he just had to run in and save him. Why?
Kamchan, I couldn't just stand there and watch you die!
And with those words, All Might forces himself to power up and deliver the ultimate blow. Damn, that's some strong punch! And yeah, most of his attacks are named after US cities. With that, the villain is captured again, Izuku gets scolded for reckless endangerment, while Bakugo gets praised for holding his own. Of course, he later approaches Izuku to tell him he didn't need help, because he wouldn't admit to it otherwise. Then, All Might appears to thank Izuku for reminding him of what it means to be a hero, and how his actions mirrored other great heroes who were willing to jump into danger for others. Izuku starts breaking down, because he feels that he's about to tell him the words he wanted to hear long ago.
Young man, you too can become a hero.
This scene gets me every time, because it really is that relatable. To be told you can't do something your whole life because you don't fit the standards of what society expects from you, only to be told by someone, yes you can, is very reassuring. All he wanted was a chance to try being a hero, and now he's found someone who believes he can. Now, while this could have led to Izuku becoming a powerless tech-based hero who uses wit to overcome situations, they go the safe route by having All Might tell him he'll inherit a special quirk he has. It's one that he was given long ago, One for All, which is meant to be passed on to others so they can grow stronger in more ways than one. While this does deprive us of a potentially more interesting story, it doesn't change the fact that someone of All Might's caliber is giving someone weaker than him a power to function as a hero. To receive it, Izuku has to hone his body to accept the quirk, as it gets stronger with every person it's passed on to, and could potentially destroy it if he's not able to contain it. So, he has 10 months before the UA entrance exams to clear this beach if he's to receive the power. It'll help him grow strong and learn humility like the old days. It'll be tough, but Izuku accepts the task. But besides needing to move all this trash, he still has school to do, and
I can get in around 5 hours every morning and night, so that's 490 hours. Also, I'll need to make sure I'm hitting every muscle group, which means I need to pay attention to the type of work I'm doing on the beach every day. I could start sneaking in extra workouts and...
However, he overexerts himself while doing it, all because he feels that he needed to work harder and be like All Might. All Might realizes that he's pushing him too far and adjusts his schedule to better suit him. Thus, the day of the exam comes and his training is complete. With his body improved, he can now be given One for All. All Might believes Izuku is ready after all the work he did. It's a truly inspiring moment.
Get this! To inherit my power, you've got to swallow some of my DNA. That's how it works.
This isn't exactly how I imagined it!
Well, wouldn't be the last time a Shonen Jump hero ate a piece of someone's body to gain powers. Anyway, on to the exams. Bakugo hasn't been picking on Izuku lately, for whatever reason, but otherwise, things are looking up.
Or I'll just die.
Okay. I stopped you with my quirk. I'm sorry I didn't ask first. But I figured you wouldn't mind me catching you.
And yeah, you can almost think of her as a potential love interest, though that won't be really notable till later. In fact, she's one of many characters we'll get into more after the exam, because we have to learn what that's all about. Telling us this is Present Mike, who talks big but never seems to get a proper reaction he wants. Izuku still likes him though.
I listen to his radio show every day of the week! It's so crazy nuts that all the UA teachers...
Nerd!
Anyway, the exam is a standard battle system where they have to earn enough points from the enemies present. There are 3 enemies that give points. However, there's a 4th one on the papers that another student we'll learn about later, Ida, brings up.
We expect the best from Japan's most notable school. A mistake such as this won't do. Additionally, you with the unkempt hair. You've been muttering this entire time. Stop that.
Oh, you look like fun. But yeah, the last enemy rewards no points, as it's more of an obstacle. With that, they head to their respective battle blocks to begin. Of course, Ida chews out Izuku because he was distracting people with his muttering. and everyone else thinks he has no chance. And they aren't totally wrong, because the power Izuku has isn't something he can use easily. And as for the enemies...
A one-pointer! I want my feet moved! Holy crap, I'm gonna die!
Got him! Merci beaucoup.
Did he just shoot a freaking laser out of his stomach? Yeah, Izuku's in trouble if he keeps freezing up and needing to be rescued. Everyone else is kicking ass with their own abilities, and Izuku can't even get a single point. Watching all this are various teachers and faculty members.
The most successful students use a combination of all these tactics. They're the ones who rack up the highest scores.
Ah yes, him. He's part of the reason I'm actually able to cover this series. Now they send in the fourth enemy, who is humongous. With only 2 minutes left, Izuku panics before realizing the girl from before is trapped. And as All Might said, true character is shown in these moments. So Izuku rushes in and ends up unleashing his new power.
That's right. Show who you are. Embody what it means to be a hero. Nothing is nobler than self-sacrifice.
Yeah, but that arm looks totally broken. Of course, he can't recover from midair and thinks he has to nuke his left arm to save himself. But Gravity Girl slaps him with her power to save him. With that, the exam is over and Izuku has no combat points. Most of the people are confused, but Ida at least understands the potential he had when saving the girl, though he also seems to see another side to this exam. Otherwise, the school nurse, Recovery Girl, arrives to demonstrate her healing ability.
Give me some sugar.
What's she doing? You're watching a school nurse in action. Her quirk is a Trey awesome boost of healing power. She's the only reason UA can hold these reckless exams.
I guess that makes sense. Still seems like a lawsuit waiting to happen. Time passes and Izuku feels defeated since he must have failed. He soon receives a letter with an electronic device, with All Might saying he's working at UA now. Also, despite failing the combat exam, he did succeed at one other part of the exam, which is explained after another video of Gravity Girl asking President Mike to give him some of her points for rescuing her. Thing is, it wasn't just about battle. Rescue points are given for helping others, and he got the most in that regard.
Welcome, Izuku. You have made it. You're now part of the Hero Academia.
Even if it seems standard for a Shonen Jump protagonist to get into this sort of establishment, it is still based on some degree of logic that would make sense to have. Especially given the other kinds of heroes we have that wouldn't be able to fight like those other guys. So Izuku talks to All Might about what he learned and wanted to know why he joined the school. He was looking to find someone to inherit his power, but since he gave it to him, he'll just have to learn to refine his powers more. Just some positive reassurance.
The torch I passed on to you is but a small flame right now. In time, it will be kindled until you wield a raging inferno. The more powerful you become, the more you'll outshine me.
His mother is even proud of him. Despite what she said long ago, she still supports his efforts, and now he gets to attend one of 2 classes in UA, Class 1A. The bad news is, he got Bakugo and Ida. The good news is, he got the Gravity Girl. It's at this point I like to name the kids of this class. The Gravity Girl is named Ochacho Uraraka, and she's very sweet. Then we have Tenya Ida, who has engines on his legs that make him run fast. Next, going down the student line, we have Yuga Ayama, the French laser guy from before. Then there's Mina Ashido, Tsuyu Asui, Mashirao Ojiro, Denki Kaminari, Ichiro Kirishima, Koji Koda, Rikido Sato, Mezzo Shoji, Kyoka Jiro, Hantasiro, Fumikage Tokiyami, Shoto Todoroki, Toru Hagakure, yes, she's invisible, Momoyayo Rosu, and finally, Minoru Mineta. We'll get to him soon. And then there's the teacher.
Welcome to UA's Hero Course.
Shota Aizawa is like a lot of stern teacher characters. Strict, but well-meaning, even if first impressions say otherwise. Such as the fact he flunked an entire class he held one year, and he's looking to do so with him having everyone compete in 8 physical events to test their potential, and whoever is in last place will be expelled. Not good for Izuku, but he and everyone will have to do their best. At least we start learning some of their quirks. Ida has Engine, which helps him accelerate in speed thanks to his leg engines. Uraraka has Zero Gravity, which affects whatever she touches. Aoyama is Naval Laser. Yeah. And Bakugo has Explosion, where he sweats nitroglycerin in his palms to make them explode. Izuku, naturally, has trouble doing well, and even with what he remembers from All Might about channeling that energy he felt before, he might not be able to make it. When it comes time to throwing a softball, he thinks of using One for All to give it an extra boost. However...
I erased your quirk. Judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school.
So yeah, Aizawa's hero name is Eraserhead, for his quirk, Erasure, allows him to negate quirks so long as he stares at them. He thinks Izuku isn't ready for his quirk given the harm it causes him. He would only be a liability if he could only use his ability once before breaking, and considering last time, yeah. Izuku can't give up though. He decides to wait until the last second, to put the power in his fingertip to give it that push to throw far.
You see, I'm still standing! This kid.
I was worried about you, young man, but you're doing a great job.
Determination and plenty of stubbornness. Of course, Bakugo is shocked that Izuku was able to do this despite believing he was quirkless. He tries to confront him, but Aizawa stops him.
It'd be wise to avoid making me use my quirk so much. It gives me serious dry eye.
Too bad! That power's amazing!
Bakugo isn't done, but for now, they finish and get the results. But turns out he was lying about expulsion to get them all to try hard, or so he says, as he tells All Might he would have if Izuku didn't show potential. Speaking of, he thinks to himself about needing to do better so he doesn't rely on others to fix him up so much. And he's certainly motivated with Ida and Uraraka around, the latter even saying how she likes the name Deku as a potential hero name. Keep that in mind for later. Right now, it's time for hero basic training with All Might. They'll be doing combat training, and each student gets to fight in special costumes that they requested before entering the academy. And well, they all look pretty cool. Especially Bakugo with his big old grenade gauntlets. As for Izuku, first we have a flashback and we learn how quirk registration works, and then it can be updated since powers might change the more they understand them. Also, his mom, Inko, got around to apologizing for what she said in the past, so that's good for her. She got him a uniform to use as part of his costume, which...
This is it. My hero costume.
You know, one of the main characters in Omagadoki Zoo was a rabbit, and those ears would make him look like one. Yeah, he's based off of All Might because he's a freaking fanboy through and through.
This bodysuit is skin tight. Not really my style. I love this school.
No, not yet. So this test is to conduct battles against villains inside buildings, and they'll have 2 teams of 2 playing heroes and villains. Either side wins by capturing the other team, or the heroes win by capturing a nuclear bomb? That's the scenario you chose? The first and most important match we'll be seeing is with Izuku and Uraraka against Bakugo and Ida, the latter acting as villains. This is bad either way because Bakugo's been wanting to crush Izuku to prove a point.
Was he seriously just tricking me all these years? I'm gonna roast that damn nerd today!
Seriously, what does he have to prove? It's like he has an inferiority complex or something. And despite knowing how serious Bakugo is about wanting to be as popular as All Might, Izuku refuses to lose to him today. Once the test begins and the two get inside, they are engaged by Bakugo. He's certainly fired up, but Izuku isn't gonna let him have his way.
You can call me Deku, but I'm not the same helpless, defenseless kid anymore. You hear me? I've changed! From now on, Deku is the name of my hero!
And hey, all things considered, this story's a good way for one to stand up to one's bullies. Of course, this only makes Bakugo angry since he just sees him shaking like a coward. This leads into some backstory and how Izuku used to hang around Bakugo, who was the one brave kid of the group that everyone looked up to before he got his quirk and started becoming prideful. He might have wanted to keep that image without looking weak, since at one point he fell into a stream and Izuku offered to help him up.
Worried you might have hit your head or something.
But you looked at me like I was some kind of weakling.
Gotcha! I couldn't just stand there and watch you die!
Like you! But I'm not! I'm so much better than you are!
I'd say he's got a lot of issues, but you don't even know the half of it. Since these two will be added, Uraraka gets told to head to the objective, guarded by Ida, who was left alone to guard the bomb. Needless to say, he remembered how her quirk works and made it hard for her to get to him.
But I prepared for that by hiding every object in this room so you have nothing to use against me, do-gooder. My dastardly tricks have rendered you helpless.
Ida is such a dork. I love him. Now, since Izuku can't use his quirk well, he has to use a lot of wit and his newly found physique to get around Bakugo's powerful quirk, which, as it turns out, is enhanced further with those gauntlets being able to store his sweat and act like a frickin' grenade launcher.
He dodges!
Say what you want about him, he thought his design through. Naturally, everyone that's watching this is concerned since things are getting out of hand. Even All Might is concerned, and he warns them not to do that again or they lose. This doesn't change the fact that he still has skill in combat training, and he wants Izuku to use his quirk against him. At this point, the only way to win is to use it, and in an epic moment, Izuku tells Uraraka to initiate the plan while he smashes through the building above, surprising Ida enough that Uraraka can use an attack on him, and thus she can get to the bomb. Bakugo is left angry and confused, but Izuku explains why he held back.
My body just can't handle the backlash of my power yet. Mr. Aizawa said I'd be useless, but this was all that I could think of.
He really doesn't get that no one ever laughs at him or thinks he's weak, but that's what happens when you grow up thinking you have to be better than everyone else. As Izuku is taken to the nurse's office, Bakugo has a panic attack that Izuku might really have beaten him if he tried. Again, stuff that will affect him in the future. Of course, in the end, only Ida was the MVP of the match, since he was the only one who adapted to the situation and wasn't reckless in what he did. And this was explained by Momo, who was one of the students recommended to the school for, well...
One should always start with the basics and devote themselves wholeheartedly to learning. That's the only real way to become a top hero.
The other matches go on with more quirk demonstrations. Toru's minimalistic costume means that she's practically naked, just roll with it, while Ojiro has a flexible tail. Shoji has arms that can change forms in many ways, and Shoto appears to have ice powers.
Fry yourself up if you want, but it might be hard to fight me with no skin on the bottom of your feet.
And Bakugo is now learning that other people are possibly stronger than him. We see Sero has the ability to produce tape, while Kirishima can harden his body. Tokiyami, despite having a bird head, can control a personal shadow being, while Asui has frog-based abilities. And Jiro has ears that can pick up sound, while Kaminari has the power of electricity. The last noteworthy ability we see is Mina having acid powers. We'll learn what some of the other kids' abilities do later. With class over, All Might gets scolded by Recovery Girl for seeing Izuku getting injured again due to his quirk. He once again brings up how only a few people know about his injury, and how very few know about him passing his quirk to Izuku.
You're the #1 hero in the world, All Might. Does it really matter if you were born with your quirk or not? Do you have to be the symbol of peace?
If they knew I wasn't, the temptation of this power could corrupt our society. This quirk, those who wield it are responsible for mankind's safety.
Just more reasons to do better. Soon Izuku is out and everyone is happy to see him again. Except Bakugo. He left earlier because he's still angry. Izuku finds him and tries to explain himself, to the point where he admits that his quirk wasn't his own and that he's trying to make it his own. Bakugo doesn't seem to believe it, as he's still upset he lost. That and the other things Momo brought up before.
That's what that girl said! My attack was so stupid! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Enjoy that win, Deku! You won't get another! I'm just getting started!
Again, it seems like he has a lot of personal issues that keep him from wanting to be humble or nice. Unlike some characters we've seen in other anime, he at least has the excuse of being a dumb kid who has a chance to learn. It's just a matter of how much you can tolerate him before he's a lost cause. This ends the battle trial arc, and after the ending, we get some potential villains.
What do you think will happen when the mighty symbol of peace is finally killed by the villains?
That's a lot of hands you got there. We're almost done. We got 5 more episodes of this season that I can skim through given that it's the USJ arc. After a bit where the press tries to question the kids about All Might, only to be shut out by the security system, Aizawa tells the class about picking a class representative. It's put to a vote, and it ends with Izuku and Momo being the rep and deputy rep respectively. However, after a scene where Ida helps a crowd of students when a false alarm in the security system kicks in, Izuku decides he would be a better pick as the main class rep instead. This is all after another scene where Ida talks about his family and how his older brother is the famous pro hero Ingenium, and he didn't want people treating him differently for it and such. Elsewhere, All Might is off helping someone while commenting about how his powers are weakening faster since giving One for All away. He also heard that Izuku attempted to tell Bakugo his secret if it helped him calm down. Meanwhile, the class are now going to do some special training at an off-campus facility to improve their rescue efforts. Along the way, Asui seems to suspect Uzuku's quirk being similar to All Might, but they don't connect it. This just leads to the kids teasing each other about their own quirks, leading to some banter. And soon they arrive at the facility. They're met by 13, the space hero, who guides them into the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ.
Just like Universal Studios Japan.
A massive facility meant to simulate all kinds of natural disasters and events that heroes will likely see. All Might should be here too, but...
Sorry. I should be able to catch the tail end of the rescue exercises.
13's ability is called Black Hole, which can be helpful for rescue but can also kill. So the point is to use quirks to effectively help people without having to harm others. Despite this noble lesson about helping others over fighting, trouble arrives in the form of a dark portal. And out comes... Okay, the anime doesn't always do certain panels justice, because let me tell you, when it comes to Tamura Shigaraki, one of the main villains of the series, he gets some really creepy faces. The kids soon learn that this isn't an exercise. These are real villains, and they're looking to kill.
They want All Might, the great symbol of peace. I can't believe he's not here. Maybe if I kill a few kids, he'll come out to play.
Pants to be darkened! Despite the numbers, Aizawa says he can handle them while they flee, and it shows.
Bet you can't erase the quirk of a heteromorphic type like me, can you?
Yeah, you're right. But a villain like you is only dangerous if you can reach me.
Damn, he's good! And yes, heteromorphic quirks are a thing, and they too are part of the reason why I can cover this series. As the class tries to run, they're stopped by the shadow guy, Kurogiri, who introduces themselves as the League of Villains. Bakugo and Kirishima try attacking him after he was talking bad about All Might, but he uses his Warp Gate quirk to transport most of them to random locations in the facility. Izuku falls into water and is nearly attacked by a shark villain, before being saved by Asui and her long frog tongue. They also have Mineta with them on this boat.
Frog, you've got some pretty big boobs, Fu. Perfect floaties.
And are surrounded by aquatic villains. They discern the villains found out about the facility from the earlier incident, and decide they need to fend off the villains from reaching All Might. Speaking of, he's thinking of going to class anyway, since he shouldn't be sitting around, when...
Hold your horses.
Hello, Nezu, sir.
That's me. The one who could be a mouse or a dog or a bear, though the only important thing is... I'm the principal!
Okay, Nezu is the one character who was a regular animal before getting a quirk that made him more human, and that's revealed in a later season. But this pretty much says that yes, animal people exist. They mostly exist with heteromorphic quirks, so they'll either have animal heads, body parts, or all of the above. While it isn't touched upon this season, there will be a point where they really delve into what people see in these type of quirks. Anyway, he just tells All Might not to overdo himself, since he has to help his students and let other heroes do their job. Meanwhile, the other kids are doing their part to stop the villains, some more successful than others. 13 tells Ida to run for help while she's distracting the villains, since they're unable to contact the main school. Ida is reluctant, since he'll have to leave everyone, but his classmates tell him to go. Back with Izuku's group...
You guys might be able to kill All Might, and you think we can take them? Did you hit your head when we got warped here? The best plan is for us to just wait for a real pro from UA to come and save us!
Okay, time to talk about Mineta. Mineta is one of the worst characters in this series, even more than Bakugo. While his pop-off quirk has its use for sticking and will come in handy a bunch of times, given his cowardice and perverted nature, he acts as the one pervy character that no one really likes. He's so wimpy at times, it makes me question how he got into this school. It's my understanding he's supposed to be the author's stand-in character, making me question Horikoshi sometimes. The best way to describe him would be if Denji from Chainsaw Man had no idea what consent meant, or what it means to have boundaries. Because yes, Denji is a likable pervert done right. This little grapehead hardly ever grows as a character, though arguably that's part of another problem with this series. As the villains start sinking the ship, Izuku tells them they need to take advantage of the villains' lack of knowledge over what their quirks are. He jumps in, and this time he tries doing the finger smash like before, and Mineta, actually inspired by his bravery, chucks his grape balls into the water while Asui leaps them out of danger. And said villains get sucked into the whirlpool while stuck together.
Not too shabby. You guys are amazing. Both of you.
Well, one of them is. Shoto, wanting to find out how the villains are going to kill All Might, despite most of them being weak, interrogates one of the captured villains, in the coldest way possible. Over in the mountain zone, Kaminari says his electricity wouldn't help them without hurting them. But one comedy kick by Jiro changes his mind.
Hey, this is working! I'm super strong! Sit back, you two! You can count on me!
You are exhausting.
Oh, and actually, Jiro can produce shockwaves with her earphone jack quirk. Momo uses her creation quirk to make an insulated blanket so Kaminari can unleash a powerful electric attack, though it makes him look stupid afterwards. Anyway, Izuku's group watches Aizawa battle Shigaraki, who ends up demonstrating his own quirk, Decay. When any hand of his has 5-point contact, he causes the target to start disintegrating. The rate and effect of this quirk only grows over time, and trust me, it becomes one of the most overpowered quirks out there. Shigaraki gloats over the situation like a typical maniac, and he sends his giant villain to easily capture Aizawa. It's called a Nomu, a bioengineered creature that we'll be seeing more of later. Elsewhere, Kurogiri opens a warp gate that causes 13 to be affected by her own quirk. Despite needing to leave his friends, Ida takes the chance to run while his friends give him cover. And thanks to them, and a lot of effort, he succeeds in getting out. Bakugo and Kirishima deal with their villains, and the latter thinks they need to join up with the others, since not everyone is suited for combat. But Bakugo, while wanting to fight Kurogiri, does make some fine points about the villains having nowhere to go otherwise, and if the villains are weak, the others can handle them. He actually sounds rational for a change.
Since when you act so calm and rational? Usually you're all like...
Die! 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 I'm always calm and rational, you red-haired loser!
There you
you are!
Of course, what this really means is Kirishima is one of the few people willing to buddy up with him. This is one dynamic that comes back a lot. Anyway, since Ida got away, that means help will arrive soon, so the villains have to leave. Shigaraki, though itchy over the news, seems to agree.
There's no way we can win if dozens of pros show up to stop us. It's game over. Back to the title screen.
Guess Shigaraki's a real gamer. I wonder if he plays League of Legends.
Amazing! We're safe and we don't have to fight! Yeah, but... I have...
Yes! Kill! Of course, Shigaraki wants to kill at least one student to break All Might, and he knew the others were nearby, so he tries attacking Asui. After Aizawa saves her, Izuku tries to unleash a smash. But he actually hit the Nomu guy that Aizawa said must be as strong as All Might, and before anyone else can get hurt or die, he arrives.
Have no fear, students. I am here.
And he is pissed. Ida ran into him while heading to the school, so now All Might will be the first to deal with the main threat. First, he saves Aizawa and the other kids, then he goes to take on Shigaraki and the Nomu with a glow of confidence. The Nomu is able to take All Might's attacks because its body seems to be shock absorbent. He can try and wear him down, but Kurogiri is making that difficult. Of course, Izuku is afraid All Might may die because of him, so he goes back down, only to be stopped by Bakugo, Kirishima, and Shoto, who have also come to help.
You got careless, you dumb villain. It wasn't hard to figure you out. Only certain parts of you turn into that smoking warp gate. You use that mist to hide your actual body as a kind of distraction, thinking that made you safe. But if you didn't have a body, you wouldn't be wearing this neck armor, right? You're not immune to physical attacks if they're well aimed.
Holy crap, Bakugo is smart! Must be a day that doesn't end in Y. Oh, and the Nomu not only has shock absorption, but also regeneration. He's also fast, so All Might had to act fast to save Bakugo. Now it's time for Shigaraki to get all philosophical about heroes being allowed to be violent for the sake of others and crap.
Why do people get to decide that some violent acts are heroic and others are villainous? Casting judgment as to what's good and what's evil. You think you're the symbol of peace? You're just another government-sponsored instrument of violence.
But of course, it's clear that people like Shigaraki do this because they like it. All things considered, All Might insists he'll take it from here, despite having only a minute left to maintain this form. So it's time for All Might to show why he's the symbol of peace. He enrages and goes at the Nomu with such ferocity. He plans to go beyond 100% of his power, leading to the epic moment of truth. Okay, if there's one thing the series does well is draw out the sheer power of the moment through the music and voice acting. There are times when the animation doesn't do a scene justice, but when it does, it hits hard. Shigaraki starts to panic, but is convinced to go through with killing him anyway. Elsewhere, Kaminari gets captured by another electric-based quirk user that was disrupting communications. Jiro tries to distract him long enough to get her earphone jack to her boot, but he's not that dumb. Izuku forces his way to try and stop Kurogiri, but breaks his leg in the process, and is nearly decayed in the process. However...
They're here.
Hot damn, the pros are here! Nice job, Ida. They kick all the ass, and Shigaraki and Kurogiri escape before they're caught. But they'll be back many times. Still, a major lesson was learned, and despite Izuku failing to do much, All Might thanks him for helping him enough to keep him alive. Kirishima almost learns about All Might's secret, but pro hero Cementos puts a stop to that. The villains return to their base, complaining about what happened, and we see that they do have a master, who we will definitely learn about another time. For now, the kids rejoice over their victory. Aoyama tries to gloat, but...
Hardcore power.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Where do you think I was?
Where?
It's a secret.
I laugh in future vision. Oh, and we learn from one of the police investigators, Naomasa, that the teachers who got hurt will be fine. Once they have recovered, of course. Also, there's a police cat guy named Sansa. They also caught the Nomu, who isn't doing much, so they need to look into him. Naomasa also knows about All Might's secret, and they all talk about how the students did a great job in handling the situation. All things considered, this is a class full of promising heroes.
Those villains made a mistake attacking them. This class is strong. They're filled with courage and drive. Mark my words. They'll become great heroes.
But so we're not just forgetting about the future. Now, obviously, the first season only covers just enough to set up a foundation for things to come. Unlike some other anime series I've covered that had whole stories told, this is merely the beginning of something that I feel is at least fulfilling in what it's trying to tell. As Izuku even said, this is a story on how he became the greatest hero ever, and that story is filled with plenty of hardship and plenty of action. Izuku might follow similar examples to other Shonen Jump characters, while also being a major dork in what he loves, but his rise to power is a lot slower but more natural. He doesn't get this great power and instantly master it, he has to grow into it. He becomes more noticeable later, but even once he starts unlocking new powers, he'll still need to figure them out. At the same time, his friends will be in the same boat of learning their strengths and weaknesses as they grow together. That said, there will be some issues regarding character development for everyone given how the story arcs play out from here on. It's not that problematic here because it's more of an introductory season, though soon we'll see some of the problems with limiting who gets attention and when. Otherwise, Bones did a relatively good job in bringing the world to life. The colors are a great fit, the action is awesome, and the voice acting is good for the most part. If I were a new watcher or was interested in reading the manga, I'd be interested to see what they do next. There's a lot more that needs to be said, but those are things that can be fleshed out the more I end up reviewing these seasons. Again, if I get a request for it, or if I have time, I'll consider doing at least one season per year depending on circumstances. That might not seem much now, but I do hope that after this, I can at least get you interested in something that's a little more hopeful about overcoming the odds, helping others, giving aid to perform the task, and just being an overall good person, like the heroes of this story. Next time, we move from one optimistic series to a dark and bleak film. I'll see you then.